Hello my bookish friends, welcome or welcome back. I am Elizabeth, this is Reading Wryly, and today is going to be the debut of a new series that I'm introducing called my Top 5 Finds. Working title. If you have any other ideas, please let me know for that title because not loving it, but we're using it for now. With this new series, what I'm going to be doing is talking about 5 books that are related to a certain theme, trope, or element within a novel. And the theme today is going to be feminist, thriller, and horror fiction. So I'm going to tell you about 5 books that fit within that category. Let's get into it. All right, the first book that I want to talk to you about is one that I feel is not talked about enough. I read this book and I wanted to scream from the rooftops. This is feral feminism at its best, in my opinion, and that is Nightbitch by Rachel Yoder. What is this story about? This is a really weird one, y'all. Do not go into this if you're not into the weird stuff, because this one's weird as hell, and I'm going to tell you straightforward and upfront about that. We're following this woman, and she is a new mother. She's got a little baby boy. And for the first half of this book, she is just known by mother. She has no other identity, and that is very symbolic of where she is in her life. She used to be an artist, and she still is an artist, but she's not practicing. And she used to feel like her whole identity was free and flowing and one with the earth and one wrapped in culture and art and love and all of these things. And now that she's become a new mother, she feels like a receptacle for milk. She feels like less than a person, less than a human. Her husband's away for business a lot, so she's often by herself with her own thoughts and her little baby boy. Well, one day she thinks that she's starting to get pointier teeth. She thinks that she's growing a little tuft of hair on her lower back there, and she starts to become convinced that she is turning into a dog. Hence, Nightbitch is born. There's also this other group of women within her community who she starts to gain an interest in and think that maybe they potentially have something in common. And where this goes is so wild. I think if you liked Bunny, you would enjoy this. It's just so out there and ridiculous, but it also will just leave you howling at the moon. It's amazing. All in all, this explores the brutality and the beauty that is motherhood. And it rejoices over the rejection of the societal norms that the patriarchy instills within us. This has a 3.63 on Goodreads. It's a little bit lower than I'd like to see for this because I think this book is just fantastic, but I think it's just a little weird for some people, which I could totally understand. It's a little out there. It was published in July of 21, and it is cataloged under fiction, horror, magical realism, contemporary fantasy, feminism, and literary fiction. And I think that's apt. The next book I want to talk about is horror as well. This is Near the Bone by Christina Henry. This follows a woman, Maddie. She lives deep within this forest with her husband. She's lived there with him for as long as she can remember. She's afraid of him. He is not a nice guy. She's dealing with 2 monsters. First of all, William, her husband, but also she goes out one day and she finds this mutilated fox in the woods. She's almost afraid to tell William because she knows that means that there's something else out there, that they are not in fact alone like they thought they were. She brings it up to him, and they realize that there is a monster in the woods. This is similar to Bird Box in the sense that we never actually see this monster, but it is also brutal. There are 3 people who are on a mission to track this monster, whatever it is. When these people cross paths with Maddie and William, is not good. I loved everything that it was saying. I love the twist where we find out more about Maddie and about her past. If you like kind of like slasher monster horror, I think this is going to be up your alley, while also having a few things to say about women and about monsters lurking in the world. This has a 3.75 on Goodreads out of 10,000 ratings. And this came out April of 2021. Okay, the next book that I want to recommend within this trope is The Violence by Delilah S. Dawson. This one's a little bit of a chunker. It's a 500-page book, and it is a little bit of a slow burn, but well worth it in the end. If you want to go for it and do it, I think it's definitely worth it. This follows 3 generations of women 5 years into the future where there is this post-COVID pandemic that's not making people sick, quote unquote, but it's making them violent, and it's called The Violence. Chelsea Martin is the main woman we're following, along with her mother and her daughter. Chelsea is in an abusive relationship and her husband is a POS. She comes up with this little kind of plan, this kind of scheme. She says, well, this violence is breaking out everywhere. Maybe I can use that to my benefit because my husband's already violent. And maybe I can say that he has this disease and they'll take him away. And so she does. Now, her mother is very prissy, very proper. She does not approve of Chelsea and her behavior. And at the beginning of this book, you kind of hate her mom. Her daughter also in not such a great relationship. She's a high school student. Boy, is this a sojourn. The things that these women go through, it doesn't just stay within their neighborhood. They delve out into the universe. They go on their own journeys of self-discovery. They end up appreciating each other at the end and understanding each other. Everything that I've told you about this covers maybe the first 20% of this story. Chelsea ends up making an entirely new life for herself. And when I finished this, I ended up feeling proud of them. I felt proud. I felt optimistic for the future. And it just really hit me right in the best spot. So if you're interested in this one, I would suggest checking it out. It has a 3.87 on Goodreads out of 5,300 ratings. It came out in February of 2022. If you've been around on my channel for a while, you may be sick and tired of hearing me talk about this book, but it's not going to end. I'm still obsessed. And that is Any Man by Amber Tamblyn. This book is just brutal and beautiful and so interestingly and well written. It's almost poetic and it's dark. It's dark. I'm telling you. It has so much thought-provoking commentary. We're following 3 men who have been brutally sexually assaulted by this woman, Maud. There's mixed media in here. We have radio talk shows, TV talk shows, text messages, first-hand accounts, so many trigger warnings in here. But essentially, this is the story of what would happen if the tables were turned, if nobody believed men when they were sexually assaulted, and these gruesome things happened to them. What if we treated the men like we treat women? This is not, I want to be clear, this is not a good for her book, because Maud is a piece of shit. She is a terrible, terrible person, and she does not care who she assaults and maims and does all these things to. Like, these men are violently and brutally attacked. The commentary is what I found the most interesting. It's a pretty quick book, pretty short book, 200 and some odd pages. These men are pretty much ridiculed by the public, saying, how could you even be sexually assaulted by a woman? How is it even possible? They're laughed at, they're mocked, and they're not believed. This just had such a poignant conversation in here that I thought was brilliant, and the writing is so gorgeously beautiful. It really is a fine line between prose and poetry, and sometimes it's more poetry and sometimes it's more prose. The audiobook for this also is top-notch, 100% recommend, full cast, and amazing. So if you really want to be destroyed, if you want to finish a book and say, fuck yes, that's what I'm talking about, then I would definitely recommend this one. Did I tell you what this had? This has a 3.92 on Goodreads, okay? I'm not lying. Other people like this too. Out of 6,000 ratings, this came out in 2018. I just cannot recommend this enough. Look up trigger warnings if you need them, because there are a lot, including self-harm, sexual assault, just really graphic details in here, so just be aware of that. All right, and my last recommendation for today for feminist fiction, this is actually going to be a YA thriller? Fantasy? Thriller? I don't know what you would call this. It's The Grace Year by Kim Liggett. This one is another one that I feel like if you liked Divergent, if you liked The Hunger Games, if you liked The Handmaid's Tale, this is right up that alley. It's going to scratch that dystopian itch, but it's also got a lot to say about women. We're following Tierney James. She lives in this place where women, oh God, women are thought to, especially young women, coming of age women, they are thought to have this something that just seeps out of their pores, this pheromone that can lure men, that can make women jealous. Essentially, they're saying that because they're beautiful, they're evil. or not even beautiful, but young, whatever it may be, it's not right. They live in this puritanical society where the women get married off after their 16th year, but their 16th year they spend in the wilds. This is their grace year. It's forbidden to talk about. Nobody discusses it. There's not a peep. The women who come back, if they do come back, never discuss it. So they don't know what to expect in this grace year. But all of the women who turn 16, they have to go out into the wilds and expel their powers, use them all up. And so when they come back, they're purified, they're ready for marriage. Tierney is not like other girls. This is a little bit tropey, not gonna lie. It's a little bit tropey, but it just hits those spots, you know what I'm saying? She really doesn't buy into all of this, and she doesn't want to say anything because she doesn't want to get in trouble. Much of this book follows them within that 16th year, and as they find out what their powers are or what their powers are not, by the time they get back to the village, so much has changed. They have changed. But what this really has to say is a lot of commentary about this idea that women feel like they have to compete with one another, that they feel like they can bring themselves up higher by bringing other women down. That is like one of the main themes of this. And not just that happens, but also why does that happen? Because what is the structure that's been put in place that's made us think this way? And it's very much a glance at our own society through this ridiculous society. Again, kind of like any man, where you're looking at this and saying how ridiculous it is, but then you see all of the similarities with our own culture, and it just hits. It hits really hard. There's a little bit of insta love in here, you know, and it's YA, you know, it's what you might expect, but I had such a good time with this one, and I highly recommend it. And that is it for today. Those are my 5 feminist, thriller, horror, fiction recommendations, top 5 finds. Let me know if you come up with a better phrase than that, but for right now, I'm workshopping it. It's fine. If you've read any of these, let me know down below. If you have any other recommendations for me that are feminist fiction, of course, like that's what I love, love, love to read. So let me know down in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And let me see. Ooh, I'm drinking a glass of whiskey today, y'all, because it's been one of those days. It's been one of those days. I'm gonna get ready to like just relax, eat some dinner, and pass out. Now that I have lights, I don't have to film in the day, which is amazing. Better than ring lights anyway. I look forward to future episodes of this, future segments within this series where we talk about other tropes that I am compiling, putting together, elements, things like books under 200 pages, things like main characters who are redheads, whatever I can come up with at the time. And with that being said, don't forget that life is short, so read Wryly. Cheers and goodbye!